Good day, you're watching Businessworld Live. I'm Jess De Los Santos, and here are today's top stories. With soaring inflation likely affecting consumer spending, economists expect GDP growth to have slowed in the second quarter. The country faces worsening sugar woes as the industry fails to meet production targets. Unemployment rate remains unchanged in June at 6%. And the tourism department looks to upgrade service standards for small businesses. Let's begin our broadcast with economic growth expected to have slowed down in the second quarter. A Businessworld poll of 18 economists yielded a median GDP growth estimate of 7.5% from April to June, easing from 8.3% in the first quarter. It realized the figure would bring the first semester average to 7.9%, still above the government's full-year target of 6.5 to 7.5%. Analysts said robust spending likely drove second quarter growth, but this may have been hurt by surging inflation. Second quarter GDP will be released tomorrow, August 9. Now this time, let's move into some fresh data from the PSA showing that 6% of the labor force remains unemployed in June, steady from the unemployment rate recorded in May. The PSA's labor force survey shows that 2.99 million Filipinos remained jobless last month. That's slightly higher than the 2.93 million recorded in May. But this is lower than the 3.7 million jobless Filipinos recorded in June of last year. Meanwhile, 8.8 million or 12.6% of Filipinos remained underemployed in June, still lower than the over 6 million recorded both in May 2022 and June 2021. Now, in other news, the country continues to face worsening sugar shortage. This is on the back of the sector missing its production target due to weather disturbances and high input costs. The sugar industry also attributes the shortage to the delayed implementation of an order that sought to import 200,000 metric tons of the commodity, with the 6.4% July inflation driven mainly by an uptick in food prices. The Sugar Regulatory Administration now pushes for the importation of 300,000 metric tons of sugar as a stopgap measure. Now, with supply already tight, how is that affecting the prices of sugar in supermarkets? Let's get the details straight from Stephen Kua, president of the Philippine Amalgamated Supermarkets Association. Stephen, rainy day. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, morning, Jess.
Okay, so first, kamusta presyo ng mga asukal sa supermarket? I mean, we've been seeing the increases the past few weeks. How bad has it been?
Well, sugar has been competing with the fuel in terms of prices. No, one on a per liter basis, the other one on a per kilo basis. No, for those who are challenged, no, budget-wise, it's now a choice between drinking your coffee sweetened in the morning or commuting to office. No, so yun, naglalaban ang sa budget mo ang asukal at the cost of transportation. Yes.
Okay, but to give us an idea, how much of an increase have we seen here for prices of sugar per kilo? And should we expect more price hikes?
Yeah, I know that price of sugar has been increasing, but I was surprised myself when I checked last Monday and found out that it's been selling at 100, 105, 108, no, in the market. And then I checked back and said, kailan ba nag-umpisang pagtaas ng presyo ng asukal, no? As of June 1, it was around 72.50, something like that per kilo. No? This is for white refined sugar white refined. Imagine, 72.50, it's 105, so that's around a 40%, 42% increase, no, in 2 months. So, of course, it will not go on continuously, no? But, still, a very steep rise, no? For one commodity which everyone uses every day.
Okay, you don't expect that to continue? Are you alluding here to the fact that you have the Sugar Regulatory Administration pushing for the importation of around 300,000 metric tons of sugar? How much of a help is that going to give us?
Well, if you're going to flood the market with a supply of sugar, definitely prices will go down. But again, that's a quick fix, no? Kasi this has to be we are an agricultural country. We call ourselves, describe ourselves as such, no? And yet we have problems we have to import grains, we have to import sugar, it's a pity. No, I think we really have to fix this long term. No, beyond a 6-year term of any administration. No, it has to be continuous, and for food security purposes, and for the economy. No, we don't have to import these things if you'll ask the normal person in the street, right? Because we have the whole sugar, the industry, in a whole region, right? But again, we don't know what went wrong and what needs to be fixed. But definitely, government has to fix this. No, it's not the private sector.
Okay,
Unless you're saying private sector is hoarding, no, unless that's their
Right.
claim, right?
Well, you yourself mentioned you've been seeing the increases. I mean, you were surprised at least to see this level of increase, but at the same time, has that affected demand for sugar, especially considering that the economy has been reopening more and more?
Well, I noticed that people have been buying smaller and smaller packs. Supermarkets which did not carry 1/4 kilo of sugar, packed na 1/4 kilo, packed in 1/4 kilo, are now carrying that because people are looking for that. No? Sa palengke bumalik yung asukal na parang talagyan ng suman. Yung
Parang nakatingi-tingi.
size ng suman. Oo, yun, tingin-tingin na napakonti. And people are also shifting, no? Lalo na countrywide size to brown and washed sugar, no? Rather than white refined. Because medyo malaki ang tinaas ng white refined, for brown hindi ganun kalaki ang tinaas, no?
Now, apart from sugar, are we expecting other products to actually see increases in the next few weeks or days?
Well, if this thing with price with sugar continues to increase, a lot of products are, maraming sangkap ay asukal, no? So for sure, products which are sweetened, we're talking beverage, we're talking powdered drinks, no? A lot of them will be affected. That's for sure, no? Right now, hindi pa naman naapektuhan, no? Kasi tuloy-tuloy ang taas, pero mabilis, no? So hoping that they can stem this and the prices can be, controlled, no? And hopefully bumaba ng konti so that hindi pa umabot sa mga produktong kailangan ng maraming asukal.
Okay, you mentioned in the past, Stephen, that there has been at least higher increases in products that were not covered by the DTI's monitoring. Kamusta yung situation now? How's the price difference between goods covered by the DTI's SRP and those that are not?
Yeah, this is not to say or encourage the DTI to cover all items, no? That's total price control. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that there will be products which may adjust their prices because they're not monitored by the DTI, no, by the government, no. But this is not. But again, all these items that I mentioned, some of them have already slowly priced themselves out of the market. You can say, I'm sure their market shares declined, no, radically because of their great price increases, no. So again, that will check that thing, no, about the loss of market share will definitely control the decision of importers or manufacturers, no, to continue increasing their prices, no.
Okay. For the sake of our viewers, give us an idea. Why is it nga ba that there are some items that are covered by the DTI's monitoring and there are those that are not?
Okay, DTI is covering certain items with the intention that there will not be abusive retailers in areas where there is calamity or in cases of emergency.
Okay.
Example of regional, we're talking red tide, no? So it's just a region, or earthquake, or typhoons hitting a particular region of the country, no? But not the whole country, no? Pag tinamaan ang Visayas region, ang Batanes is not affected, no? Example. Kaya lang ginamit ng DTI whole year round ang SRP. Now SRP is supposed to cover only the market leaders for certain categories. We're talking coffee, we're talking milk, no, powdered milk, no. We're talking liquid, evaporated milk, no. So these are the basic items, no, basic necessities na binibili ng bawat mamimili, no, almost on a daily, used on a daily basis, no, consumed on a daily basis. So ito yung mga minomonitor nila, just the market leaders. Meaning to say, the brands most people buy the most because prices of the other competitors will definitely follow these market leaders.
Okay, now, Stephen, of course, for the past few weeks, we've been seeing prices of oil going down. Does that mean we should at least expect some products to somehow shed some cost, or rather, at least lower their prices in the next few days or even weeks? Meron na ba tayong goods na nakikita na nagbababa ng presyo?
Again, too quick to decide for manufacturers to go up and down, no? Ang hirap, no? Probably hoping that if prices stabilize, means say the economy is more stable, then prices will hopefully stabilize. Means say hindi tataas, no? And probably they'll have to kickoff. Sell all these items off shelves via sale, no? Para mabawasan ang kanilang inventory. Tsaka continuous ang production. Hindi pwedeng walang ginagawa ang kanilang tauhan sa planta, no? Lalo na kung nag-expand sila ng kanilang operations, no? So there will be a lot of products in the market which are selling slower because of the increase in prices, and they'll have to push off these items off the shelves by promotions, sales, no? So hoping that will ease ease the pockets of the mamimili, no? Hindi masyadong mabigat sa kanila dahil they're getting something, a premium, no, out of what they're buying. Yeah.
Give us an idea, Steven, what are these products that are seeing less and less sales compared to before, due, of course, to elevated prices?
Well, it's a bit difficult to monitor this. So there are there are research companies. That's all they do, no, is research, no. Pero for us, just observing, there are a lot of items on sale for. Again, it depends on the brand, the company, the promotion. So it's it's a lot of factors. Pero there will always be items na condiments, certain sizes, no, certain sizes, yung malalaki, even ketchup, no, lalo yung mga important, maraming mga sale din ngayon, no. Canned goods, we're not talking canned meat, pero canned meat meron mga sale ng canned meat, no, pero mas kaunti, no. Again, it's a company decision, so it is not the store's decision. It is not a category, the whole category. Nobody's buying pasta, for example, no, it's not that, but off-season rin, so by dahilan din, no. If people are eating less or celebrating less, no, during this season, rainy season, then there are items which are not as saleable as during Christmas, no? Maybe pasta. It sells well the whole year round, but during the season, medyo hindi reason to celebrate. So wala namang graduation or so reason, no, to celebrate. So mas maraming sinesale na item, no, for this category.
Okay, Stephen, of course, we're still in a high inflationary environment. How is that affecting your performance? Are we seeing less consumer traffic here? And what's the consumer behavior like? Are consumers buying less? Are they being more deliberate as to what they're going to take off the shelf?
People are looking for opportunities during times like these. No? If you've been to there's a trade show last weekend. If you've been there, if you went to check it out, wow, the place is full to the rim. Okay, so a lot of people are looking for opportunities. They're looking for ideas. They're looking for how to generate additional income, augment their income. No, even if they have jobs. No, so people are how would you put it? They want to they improve their standard of living. No, so foot traffic has increased. No, not just the trade show, pero even in the malls. No, ang dami ng tao, diba? But the rains, that is affecting sales, no? Lalo na kung standalone, not inside a mall or in your standalone. During hours of when it rains hard, you lose around 70-80% of your market, that much. During hours, not the whole day, not for the whole day. For the whole day, it affects your sales probably by as much as for standalone stores, those which are outside malls, I'd say by as much as 35-40%. Laking effect ng
mas malaking impact ng ulan compared to inflation, you would say.
Although mas short term, no? You're talking day-to-day basis. No? It doesn't rain every day, no?
Okay, now give us an idea, what is your sector's recovery outlook here, performance outlook for the rest of the year amid, of course, new headwinds? We're talking about new surge in cases as well, even the monkeypox. Is that going to be a concern here for the sector?
Okay, there's going to be ayuda till end of the year, right? People are not aware that is one of the reasons why there's inflation, or it adds up to inflation. No? Just going to be extra money in circulation. If we continue doing that, it's going to be just a merry-go-round of habulan, no? Increasing prices, increasing salaries, increasing ayuda. So walang katapusan. So there has to be quick fix solutions or short-term solutions, and definitely medium-term solutions. Now, wag na yung long-term, wag na yung 6-year term. No, short-term and middle-term solutions so that mag-stabilize ng konti ang economy natin in terms of increasing prices and stabilizing the demand and supply. Yeah.
All right, immediate solutions needed there for the retail sector. Thank you very much for your time today. Stephen Kua, President of the Philippine Amalgamated Supermarkets Association.
Thank you for having me, Jess.
Now let's pause for a quick break, but coming right up after that. The country's dollar reserves may decline further in the coming months. We'll tell you why when Businessworld Live returns. Stay with us. You're still watching Businessworld Live here on One News. I'm Jess De Los Santos. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. and other top government officials met with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken over the weekend. Among the topics discussed were the Mutual Defense Treaty and America's relationship with Taiwan and China. JC Cosico with the details.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken met with President Bongbong Marcos at the Malacanang Palace on Saturday. During the meeting, Marcos emphasized the importance of the country's relationship with Washington amid changing regional and global landscape with recent tensions between China and Taiwan, as well as Ukraine and Russia. The president also said he wants the relationship between the U.S. and Philippines to continue evolving.
This just points to the fact of the importance of the relationship between the United States and the Republic of the Philippines. I hope that we will continue to evolve that relationship in the face of all the changes that we have been seeing and the changes that are between in our bilateral relationship.
Blinken, for his part, reaffirmed the commitment of the U.S. to the Mutual Defense Treaty with the Philippines.
The alliance is strong and I believe can grow even stronger. We're committed to the Mutual Defense Treaty. We're committed to working with you on shared challenges.
After his Malacanang visit, Blinken met and held a press conference with Foreign Affairs Secretary Enrique Manalo, where security concerns were among the topics discussed.
We look to strengthening our cooperation to better address current and emerging security threats. We welcome the U.S. government's assurances of their readiness to work closely with the new Philippine administration in advancing our shared objective of promoting peace and prosperity.
On the Beijing-Taipei tension, meanwhile, Blinken said maintaining peace in Taiwan is vital not only for the region, but also to the Philippines and other countries. He added they are open to any communication with China.
We'll keep our channels of communication with China open, with the intent of avoiding escalation due to misunderstanding or miscommunication.
As for the Philippines, Manalo said the country and other members of ASEAN are ready to see how they can help to reduce the growing tension. For News 5, JC Cosico, we are One News.
Economists say the country's foreign exchange reserves may decline further in the coming months as the central bank continues to prop up the peso. BSP data shows that gross international reserves stood at $98 billion as of end July, 2% lower than the figure in June. Though the GIR level has been decreasing since February, this is the first time since August 2020 that dollar reserves fell below the $100 billion level. ING Bank's Nikki Mapa expects the GIR drawdown to continue in the coming months amid the Federal Reserve's aggressive tightening. But RCBC Chief Economist Mike Ricafort notes that dollar reserves may still increase in the coming months amid expected higher inflows from OFW remittances, business process outsourcing revenues, and foreign investments. The peso touched its all-time low of 56.45 per dollar in July. Now, the Tourism Department is planning to upgrade service standards for micro and small businesses in the industry. Tourism Secretary Cristina Garcia Frasco said that a technical working group is currently working on a plan to improve the capacity of micro entrepreneurs engaged in tourism. Frasco proposes to include the DTI, the DILG, the DA, and BFAR in the technical working group. She adds that the DOT is offering training sessions under the Filipino brand of Service Excellence umbrella. This program aims to enhance and uplift the quality of services aimed at fostering excellent service to tourists. The Philippine National Oil Company, or PNOC, is pushing for the establishment of a strategic petroleum reserve in the country. The state-run oil company also wants to implement an oil stockpiling program in a bid to secure local oil supply and stabilize its prices. The Strategic Petroleum Reserve, or SPR, is a strategic oil stockpile that functions as an emergency fuel storage. It may be maintained by either the government or private entities or both, and may be released during periods of oil supply disruptions. PNOC says it will engage the services of a transaction advisor to prepare a detailed feasibility study for the development of a national SPR. Now, Grab Philippines says it's confident that its acquisition or its move to at least acquire its acquisition move is compliant with existing rules issued by the Transportation Department. Recall that Grab Philippines and MoveIt signed a partnership deal last year, allowing the former to enter the market for motorcycle taxis. Grab Philippines is already operating MoveIt, noting that there is no prohibition to doing so under the current guidelines for the operation of motorcycle ride-hailing firms, which includes Angkas and Joyride. Grab Philippines aims to expand MoveIt's existing motorcycle taxi fleet with a target of onboarding 6,000 driver partners within 3 months. Economists say U.S. inflation data may finally be nearing a peak as global commodity prices plunge. Let's take a look at the week ahead for the global economy, courtesy of Bloomberg.
I don't think the Fed has the thread right now. Now, when we're seeing wage inflation unambiguously after this number, accelerating after this number, after the ECI, after the Atlanta Fed, we have, by every reasonable measure of core inflation, inflation running somewhere plus or minus 5%. That is not acceptable by any dimension.
Former U.S. Treasury Secretary Larry Summers there. Well, U.S. inflation data in focus this week. Let's take a look at your week ahead. Economists are expecting sky-high inflation in the U.S. may finally be approaching a peak as global growth sputters and commodity prices plunge. But the sizzling jobs data from last week seem keeping pressure on the Fed for more aggressive rate hikes. We'll also be getting inflation data out of China. That's expected to show a benign picture and leave room for the PBOC to add more monetary stimulus. CPI numbers out of India and Japan also coming through later this week. And Thailand's central bank is poised for liftoff, expected to hike by 25 basis points after holding rates at 0.5% since May 2020, Sherry.
Yeah, and on the earnings front, we have plenty of results this week. Again, Heidi, Foxconn Industrial, Toshiba, and Lenovo are set to report on Wednesday, with Telstra set to reveal earnings on Thursday. The Commonwealth Bank of Australia also reporting, while SoftBank earnings come amid reports of an increasing talent drain, adding pressure on CEO Masayoshi Son. So that's your very busy week ahead.
Now, this just in, another round of rollback in oil prices will take effect tomorrow. Petrogas and clean fuel will slash gas prices by 2 pesos and 10 centavos per liter, while diesel prices will see a reduction of 2 pesos and 20 centavos per liter. And those are the biggest stories on the economic and corporate front today. I'm Jess De Los Santos. We are One News, all sides, all the time. Don't go away. We'll give you the latest on the local bourse when Business World Live returns. Stay with us. All right, let's have a quick check of how the local market is doing. Of course, as employment figures came in early this morning, maintaining at 6% level as reported, at least for the month of June. Let's have a quick check of how the main index is doing so far ahead of the GDP release data, at least on Tuesday as well. Investors, of course, expected to stay cautious ahead of that release. As you can see, the index, however, right now, snapping that loss that we saw on Friday. The index now up 0.4% to 6,433. Rustin Mercado of China Bank Securities says there's still a chance that rally will persist as momentum was gained over bullishness and forward prospects despite prevailing risk. Jafet Antianco of Philstocks likewise saying that earnings reports may still boost investor sentiment. Speaking of which, let's have a quick check of how Bloomberry fared, at least in the first half of the year. You'd see your net income came in at 2.49 billion pesos, reversing first half loss of last year, which was at 1.93 billion pesos. Revenue, get this, also surging by 71% to 17.49 billion pesos. That's after second quarter net income hit 1.8 billion pesos, reversing losses in the same period last year. For the first half, consolidated gross gaming revenue surged 76% to 22 billion pesos. Chairman Enrique Razon says second quarter performance signals sustained recovery in all segments of their Philippine operations, with domestic market pushing demand to pre-pandemic levels. There's scope for further recovery, even without new variants, at least, of COVID-19. Looking at how Bloomberry is faring so far today, the stock is up close to 1.5%, now at 6 pesos and 29 centavos a piece. Let's zoom out a bit and check our leaders and laggards for today here. Let me just refresh this one very quickly. You see a number of our property players here are at least starting the day in the green, particularly MegaWorld by 2.2%. This despite, of course, Ayala Land saying that things seem to be bleak, at least for the next 6 to 12 months here, as they see demand remaining tempered for the near term here, while they're seeing as well strong recovery for malls already underway. Again, MegaWorld here up 2.2%, followed by PLDT up also close to 2%. On the flip side, however, you have Semirara declining the most, 3.4%, despite, of course, reporting quite impressive figures last week for the first half of the year. And now let's have a quick check here of the peso. The investors bullish that the currency will sustain its rebound amid high remittance expectations and lower oil prices. Mike Ricafort of RCBC says the worst is probably over for the peso, with supportive factors coming into play. Some corners even projecting that the peso will strengthen once again to the $54 level yet again by the end of December. However, some weakness here for the peso at the start of the trading day here. The peso now at 55.580 to the greenback. And that's it for today, August 8, 2022. Join us again tomorrow at exactly 9:30 a.m. You can also catch us on Signal Play. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News Live anytime, anywhere. I'm Jess Del Santos. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe. Philippines, we are One News, all sides, all the time.